Michael Gelkin.
Michael, hey, how we doing? How's fatherhood? Yeah, you look like you're sleeping well. Yeah.
All right, Dave.
Hi, David Moore, Dallas Morning News. Can you start with updating Donovan Wilson's health status? Do you expect him to take part in California, and also Mukuamu?
Yeah, I think both are multiple week injuries, so I don't see him doing anything this week. Obviously, I think when you get into the specifics of both the injuries, we'll probably have a better gauge on it by the time we get to Monday.
Clarence Hill for Star Telegram. With those two out, just talk about Marquise Bell and where he is.
Yeah.
Certainly he jumped in there yesterday.
I mean, and to be honest with you, you never want to see anybody have an injury, but this is how training camp's always gone, for all of our young guys. So, our young corners and young safeties will get more work. So, and it's obviously with the way practice is limited through the ramp-up phase, I'm not really concerned from a workload standpoint, but the ability to get reps with the first group is very beneficial for these guys. It's important for them to take advantage of it. You don't have to go quick, but that's okay.
But Donovan has already established himself. Mukuamu really kind of came on at the end of the season. I mean, it's kind of a setback for him because he was really establishing a role. Yeah,
and excellent point. I think the other thing too is both these men were voted for the workout awards, and that speaks volumes to the coaching staff, to the locker room, and so forth. And and they put a lot of time, particularly back at the facility, throughout the 5 weeks off. So I mean, like I said, it's every one of these injuries are so personal, and then when you see what when it happens, and you know they've done the work. So but yeah, Iz is just continue to improve at every opportunity. So I'm very proud of the way he's come on.
Todd Archer of the ESPN. Dak's missed games with injuries here each of the last 3 years. How have you noticed his off-the-field work to maybe prehab things? Like, has he done more, or how diligent is he in all that work?
Well, thanks for the first Debbie Downer question, but I think the thing with Dak, I mean, he's extremely consistent. I think, when you look at today's, NFL player, their ability, for the outsourcing and what these guys do internally, with what we have to offer from a training perspective, and what he does, with his personal trainer and so forth is really, really good. So I think what I see is he's been very consistent, and I think just like anything, the ability to have a consistent plan in the prehab, obviously puts you in a much better situation when you have the unfortunate injury.
Coach Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. Can you talk a bit about Eric Scott's first training camp practice yesterday, that interception, and why that enforces the belief you guys had in him going into the draft again?
Well, you want me to talk about it from the head coach perspective or the offensive play caller? I didn't really enjoy the 2 minutes, so I'm kind of struggling with that. But no, I mean, Eric really had a nice spring, in the rookie work, and that's what you're looking for. I mean, because big plays are such a big part of this game. You have to have them, and something that we try to spend as much as we possibly can in the area of ball drills. And obviously play a nice play, and Simi will learn from it too. So you need these plays, and you can see the competitive spirit really all day. I know really the guys are really, probably looking forward more to Monday than just because, we're in helmets again today. So love the competition, and I think it's really good for all of our rooks to see the competitive environment that we have.
Mike McCarthy, Dallas Morning News. CD and Brandon have a lot of experience playing all the receiver positions. What's Michael's comfort level at in terms of doing that, and what's the importance to your offense of him being able to be more of a moving piece this year?
Yeah, I think that's a point that we really, I've always focused on, and I think it's part of the direction, we are going. These guys need to play inside and outside as much as possible. We work the 2-minute emphasis each and every day, and so it gives you that ability to play left, right, left and right, but the ability to play inside and outside. So Michael's getting those reps probably a little more than he has in the past. So I've liked what I've seen from Michael so far.
Mike Edwarder, ESPN. Brandon Cooks was a guy you obviously very specifically targeted, tried to get him at the deadline last year, then had all kinds of different options in the offseason. and went after him again. What is it about him that most impresses you, and how do you think he's going to change the equation offensively?
Well, I mean, during that process, I mean, obviously, I know what I was most impressed with was his video. I mean, his production, just, way he's performed at every opportunity. But, to a man, coach and player, he has just been super impressive for the type of man he is in the locker room. So I mean, he has made an impact in the short time he's been here. So a lot of love for his professionalism, and he's so much more than not that we didn't expect it, but he's been a joy to have. And this is really a reflection of, our veteran players and the conversation of some of the younger players. So he does it the right way. He gives back, helping everybody, and you can feel his impact already.
Mike, Pat Doney with NBC5. The punter obviously gets looked over a lot by the casual fan, but Brian was very good last year. How big of an impact can he make on a team, and what do you love about what he provides to your special teams?
Yeah, definitely, and I think it's the little things like anything, because I mean he's a high quality person. He's always there for the young guys. He's a Pro Bowl punter. He's had 2 Pro Bowl seasons, in my opinion. So obviously what he's done number-wise, as far as the history of our organization, all those things. So extremely consistent. But the battery, the kicker, the punter, and the snapper, that's an important group. And if you'd see how much time that they spend in Bones' office with both Bones and Coach Stu there, I mean that's a very, very tight, close unit, and not only the the responsibility of what they do on the field, but just the impact that they make in the special teams meetings. So those are core guys that and Brian's the key of it now, because he's obviously the one with the most experience. And but I've always been impressed with Bones has been able to establish from a camaraderie, the connection that we have in our special teams unit.
Mike, what excites you the most about calling plays again?
Oh, the competition. I mean, it's a chance to compete. I mean, it's I think the offensive staff has been incredible. I really like the connection that we've established in our time together. So we've had a vision, and you're starting to see it come together. We're making adjustments each and every day, and now that we're back into it. But yeah, I mean, the pure competition of it is what I've missed most.
With the new role that you have, how has that changed what you do out here? Like, can you walk around to as many different rooms still and get involved with the linebackers or the D-line or anything?
No, I'm pretty much exclusive in the offensive room and exclusive with the quarterbacks. I think that's critical to hear this first year. So, we're thinking about canceling the press conferences just to get a little more time to be more of a head coach, but just having an issue with it. So,
Luke Schoonmaker. Any feel for when we might see him in Oxnard, or if we'll see him in Oxnard?
Oh, I'm definitely hopeful of that. I mean, I know he's had some really good workouts here of late. So, and just talking with Britt throughout the 5 weeks, away, he's been there working with Britt exclusively. So he's definitely making progress. But I do not have a timeline for you.
Jess Tavares, Pro Football Network. Can you talk about what it's like seeing Tony Pollard back on the field with these guys, stepping into this role as running back one and working with guys like Deuce to really bring that juice out, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, Tony's an impactful player. I think he's illustrated that. I know in the last 2 years I've had an opportunity to work for him, but we're being smart with him. And just, Tony and Terrence Steele won't go on the team 2 minute today. So I think it's just, reflects how we're being smart, bringing both those guys back off of their injury. But Tony's he's the leader in that room, and obviously, one of our impact players on offense.
Nate Ryan with Tennis TV. You talk about calling plays and the chance to win again. For you, does it take you back in any sense to 2018 and the last time you were calling plays? Are there any sort of flashes for you?
Does it flash for me? No, I'm looking forward to it, but it's different. It's different all the time. I just know, you go back to 2000 was the first, my first opportunity to call plays in New Orleans, and I think how much it's, the offense has changed, since then. I actually spent the beginning of my time away going back and looking at a lot of things in my earlier days. I even went back and some things in New Orleans and the earlier days in Green Bay. So, yeah, I mean, it's, I think it's just like anything. When you have a level of experience, you're always trying to go back and draw on that and see, if it's something that fits, that will help our players this year. So, but we, I think you have some continuity that's in place here. Obviously with Brian and Mike Solari, we have history together. I think our backgrounds are tied, with how we want to play and the things we believe in. But at the end of the day, it's about our players. It's the language has been in place from day one here because we've talked about it a number of times because of Dak and the offensive players. So I think we've done a really nice job building off of that. But we need to keep getting the concepts oiled up the way we want them, and keep talking about the variations that we want to put on them, to just so we make sure we're attacking the defense. So we're off to a good start. We're still in helmets and underwear, but I feel good. I feel really good about the off-season program. I mean, our missed assignments yesterday were, minimal. And I think for day one, usually your younger players struggle the first time they get out here and compete in this type of atmosphere, but that wasn't the case. So, we got off to a really good start yesterday.
Coach, Russell Namath, Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Mike Tannenbaum was quoted as saying that this offense will look different because it'll have fewer self-inflicted wounds. How accurate do you think that statement is?
I mean, that's self-inflicted wounds. I mean, I think like anything in this game, when you do break it down, that's really, I think you could make the mistake of giving the other side of the ball, more credit than it deserves. So I think the efficiency of, how we're coaching and so forth, regardless of, what happened from year to year. I mean, I think it's something I've always focused on. I think the longer you're together, and it's all part of the growth of your program. Your program is a big part of creating the outline and structure, so the offense, the defense, and special teams can grow. And obviously our special teams is probably the furthest ahead just from that aspect. But they have more new players. But John's been here the whole time with me, and we have a way that we go about it, and it's extremely consistent, and it's been very productive. Now Dan's going into year 3, so that's you're seeing that on that side of the ball. So we don't by no means feel like we're starting over on offense, but we are in a year 1 mindset because the play calling is going to be different, how we game plan is going to be different, and that's that's natural anytime you make a change.
Telegram. You're a guy that's always emphasized size, length on players. Is Vaughn a challenge for you in trying to find a role, or is it exciting trying to?
Yeah, no, definitely. Really, Vaughn, Turp, and Brandon. There's some speed there that, I haven't had that much, in the perimeter group, and as far as the size and so forth. So it's definitely a different component. And, I think really when you get into, when the season's over, we go into scheme evaluation. You're always going into the draft. You're always leaving space for what comes in the draft too. So as we got Brandon and the focus of trying to get Turp more involved on offense, and I'll do so. Those are all things that frankly I know personally I spent some time on over the summer, looking at, and we're going through these install practices. It's more of a review, but we'll have new things in, because at the end of the day, it's about offensively, you have to distribute the football, and and you have to give players opportunity, particularly in their menu of routes or what they do best. So it's definitely a focus.
Okay, you keep referring to Deuce as a perimeter player, not a runner. How does that jibe?
Well, to me, all the running backs, tight ends, and the receivers are all perimeter players, and then perimeter and interior. So how do you do it? I'm just curious.
I'm just asking. I'm trying to get your mindset.
I just gave it to you.
You're asking more from your running backs in protection this year. What significance does the padded work in the preseason games take, particularly with it being a younger room this year?
I think it's important right now to give Michael a hand. He made it all. We almost made it through the press conference without a scheme question, so that was a pretty good job there, Mike. But Yeah, I mean, it's, schematically, I think when you have change, you got a run game, you got protections, you got pass games. So yeah, we're definitely are doing some things differently. If I was going to say the biggest area of change of our offense, I'd probably put protection in the pass game as the biggest change. So and so when you do that, obviously the second line of defense is the running backs. So and Jeff Blasco is an exceptional young coach, and he's been very, very impressive, and the confidence that I have in him to be in that room, I think we'll definitely see the dividends up. Dividends will pay off.
Your starters won't get the controlled reps that a joint practice can afford this year. How do you structure over the next month the work for the ones in response to that difference?
Well, frankly, it's been done, as far as crunching the numbers and what we're trying to get, and being conscious of, what we did last year. But I've just been very, very impressed with the competitive environment that we've established here, with the offense competing against our defense. And the biggest thing is we just got to fight through the mental toughness and the emotional discipline of it, because we're going to be going against each other a little longer this year. So, everyone here has covered training camps. It can get a little monotonous going against the same guy all the time. So, but we're going to keep that as a focal point, make sure we're trying to move guys around and maybe giving some young guys different opportunities a little earlier than we would. So, but at the end of the day, what we've established in our practice structure, I have great confidence in.
Haley, I'm Haley. You're Mike. Haley said in DallasCowboys.com, Jalen Moreno-Crawford, we had an opportunity to really see him within that wide receiver realm. What's impressed you about him, and how does his play kind of elevate that wide receiver battle?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the ability, I think it's definitely there without a doubt. But I think I just want to go back to what I talked about earlier. Your young players that come out from an assignment, an alignment, and particularly as much motion and shifting and the skies that we're getting from the defense, and that definitely, he's part of that group. I've just been very impressed with what these guys did in the offseason. So he seems very comfortable, because at the end of the day, as a coach, you're trying to eliminate all the stress, for your players, so they're just out here competing, not thinking. So, and I think he's doing a nice job of that so far.
Hey, Mike, it was announced that Marty Schottenheimer is a semifinalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame this
That'd be
morning.
awesome.
I
Yeah.
know he means a lot to you. Can you just speak to the impact he had on your coaching career and how much he does mean to you?
I mean, it's simple. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Marty Schottenheimer. I mean, the opportunity that he gave me back in 1993, the impact that him and his wife Pat have made on me personally and professionally. Everything I do, there's a part of Marty going back to those 90s, and I'm talking about the way we structure practice, way we evaluate practice and games. Marty was extremely detailed. His program speaks for itself. I mean, for him to win over 200 games and to do it at multiple organizations, he knows how to win. And his discipline and his drive, I thought he was one of a kind. So definitely, I think it'd be awesome to see him recognized in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
How much do you see him in Brian when you're working with him now? I mean, do you see little things that remind you of him?
Oh, absolutely. It's constant. I mean, Brian, I don't know if you know Brian's mother, Pat. She's got a great personality, and Brian has a lot of personality. But yeah, there's Martyisms that come up every day, every day. So it's and that personally has been a joy for me, and it's just been awesome having Brian and his family, be a big part of it.
Wrapped up with David.
Mike, you've told us before in establishing culture, you want to empower and install the players in a position of developing culture as well. With Dak's trip that he had with a lot of the guys, do you talk to him about that? Is that completely on him to structure and do the way he wants? Just your overall thoughts on what that time together means ahead of training camp.
Oh yeah, no, the messaging part of it, he organized that whole thing, the trip, and I was in communication with him, during that, and he was just real excited, about how it all came together. And then, frankly, having the conversations with CD and the young guys, Jalen, just the way it impacted them. I mean, it really touched those guys. And I know Dak felt great about it, speaking with them after the event of it all. So, but no, it was awesome. And that's what leadership is. I think in today's game, you have to have it. And the thing I tell these guys all the time, they cross the white lines. I mean, they play the game. It's about the players. And and he's an incredible leader. But I tell you, we got a lot of leadership on this team, and I like the way our young guys are developing. CD Lamb is really exerting himself now, so it's been really cool to watch that. But yeah, I think that the trip was very, very impactful for the perimeter group.
You don't structure in any way. You trust them to do. They know what they want to work on.
Oh, absolutely. No, I think it all is part of the outsourcing. The 5 weeks away from here, no, we communicate with them about that. I mean, there's, the last day that I was in town, we all got together and talked about some 2-minute things and some things that that they were going to focus on during their time together in the 5 weeks. And that's not the only time they were together too. Those guys throwing all the time throughout the different locations in Dallas. So obviously coaches are not part of that at all. But I mean, there's definitely a conversation before we broke in June about the things that he wanted to focus on.
All righty, thank you.
Thank you.